humanity has always been at war, but not just with each other. Our most relentless and invisible enemy has been disease. It's an adversary that doesn't take sides, doesn't negotiate, and doesn't show mercy. The worst pandemics in history have left scars on the human race, reducing empires to ruins, reshaping societies, and rewriting the rules of survival. Today, we're diving deep into the deadliest pandemics to ever strike humanity. This isn't just history, it's a chilling reminder of how nobody is 100% safe. The Black Death. Even the name sounds ominous, doesn't it? This plague didn't just kill, it devastated. Between 1347 and 1351, the Black Death wiped out an estimated 75 to 200 million people across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. To put that into perspective, it killed anywhere from 30 to 60% of Europe's population. Imagine entire towns being wiped off the map. That's the scale we're talking about. So where did this nightmare come from? The Black Death is caused by a bacterium called Yersinia pestis, which still exists today, by the way. It's believed to have originated in the grasslands of Central Asia, where it circulated among wild rodents like marmots. But it wasn't until humans began trading along the Silk Road that the bacterium hitchhiked its way to Europe. The outbreak is thought to have started in the Mongol Empire before spreading westward. One of the earliest recorded instances of the plague's westward spread was in 1346, during the siege of Kaffa. Mongol forces reportedly catapulted plague-infected corpses over the city walls, a grim example of early biological warfare. From Kaffa, the disease spread rapidly via merchant ships, infamously carrying the flea-infested rats to ports across the Mediterranean. The Black Death was primarily spread through fleas that carried Yersinia pestis and fed on infected rats. Once the rat population started dying off, the fleas turned to humans. The disease had three forms: bubonic plague, characterized by swollen lymph nodes, or buboes, which were often blackened and painful. It had a mortality rate of 30 to 60%. Pneumonic plague attacked the lungs and spread through respiratory droplets. It was nearly always fatal. Septicemic plague infected the bloodstream, leading to organ failure. This form was almost universally deadly. The death toll was staggering. In Florence, Italy, it's estimated that 50% of the population died within just a few months. In England, entire villages disappeared. Fields went unplowed, trade collapsed, and famine spread in the wake of the disease. The psychological toll was just as severe. People turned to extreme measures. Flagellants paraded through towns, whipping themselves, believing that self-punishment could atone for humanity's sins. Others blamed marginalized groups, particularly Jewish communities, leading to horrific massacres. The Black Death radically changed Europe's social and economic landscape. Labor shortages gave surviving workers more bargaining power, effectively ending the feudal system in some regions. The pandemic also prompted advancements in public health, with cities like Venice pioneering quarantine measures. But for centuries, the memory of the Black Death lingered as a grim reminder of how vulnerable we are to nature's wrath. And here comes the 20th century, where the modern world, with its factories, cars, and interconnected societies, faced a deadly enemy that killed more people than World War I, the 1918 influenza pandemic, often called the Spanish flu. This pandemic infected an estimated 1/3 of the global population and killed between 50 and 100 million people in just over a year. Despite its name, the Spanish flu didn't start in Spain. Many historians now believe it originated in Haskell County, Kansas, where a particularly virulent strain of the H1N1 influenza virus jumped from pigs to humans. From there, it spread to an army training camp in Fort Riley, Kansas. In March 1918, with soldiers traveling to Europe during World War I, the virus found the perfect environment to go global. The Spanish flu spread rapidly through respiratory droplets, making crowded trenches, troop transports, and cities hotspots for infection. Unlike typical flu viruses, which primarily target the young and elderly, the Spanish flu had a strange preference for healthy young adults between 20 and 40. Scientists believe this was due to a phenomenon called cytokine storm, where the body's immune system overreacts, causing fatal damage to its own tissues. The death toll was unprecedented. India alone lost an estimated 18 million people. In the US, life expectancy dropped by 12 years. Bodies piled up faster than they could be buried, and mass graves became a common sight. In some communities, entire families perished within days. To make matters worse, many governments downplayed the severity of the pandemic to maintain wartime morale. Public health measures like mask mandates, quarantines, and bans on public gatherings were met with mixed compliance and resistance, eerily foreshadowing modern pandemics. The Spanish flu reshaped public health systems worldwide. Governments realized the importance of surveillance, vaccination programs, and international cooperation to prevent future pandemics. However, the scale of death and the lack of preparation left an undeniable mark on collective memory. Unlike the Black Death or the Spanish flu, the HIV/AIDS pandemic has been a slow-burning crisis. Since its identification in 1981, HIV/AIDS has claimed more than 40 million lives worldwide, with millions more living with the virus today. HIV is believed to have originated in chimpanzees in Central Africa, where the virus, known as SIV, crossed into humans sometimes in the early 20th century. This has likely occurred through the hunting and consumption of bushmeat. The virus spread quietly for decades before emerging as a global health crisis in the late 20th century. HIV spreads through bodily fluids, including blood, semen, vaginal fluids, and breast milk. Early cases were concentrated among specific populations, including men who have sex with men and intravenous drug users, leading to stigmatization and delayed public health responses. At its peak, in the 1990s, AIDS-related deaths reached over 2 million annually. Entire generations were decimated in parts of sub-Saharan Africa, where access to antiretroviral therapy was limited, and overwhelmed healthcare systems were common in the hardest hit regions. In the West, activism groups like ACT UP forced governments and pharmaceutical companies to invest in research and treatment. By the 2000s, antiretroviral drugs transformed HIV from a death sentence into a manageable chronic condition for many. The HIV/AIDS pandemic spurred unprecedented global health initiatives, including the establishment of organizations like UNAIDS and the Global Fund. While stigma remains, education and access to treatment have dramatically improved outcomes. Yet, the fight is far from over, with millions still lacking access to life-saving medication. In late 2019, the world was gearing up for another New Year celebration. Nobody expected that within months, a microscopic virus would bring global society to its knees. COVID-19, caused by the novel coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2 has become one of the most significant global events of the 21st century. Its impact have been far-reaching, affecting not just public health but also economies, politics, and the way we live our lives. COVID-19 was first identified in Wuhan, China. The exact origins of SARS-CoV-2 are still under debate, but most scientists agree it likely has a zoonotic origin, meaning it jumped from animals to humans. The Hunan seafood market in Wuhan was initially linked to many early cases, though it's unclear if it was the virus' true starting point or just a super spreader location. There are a few prevailing theories. Natural transmission. This is the most widely accepted theory among scientists. Coronaviruses are common in bats, and intermediate hosts, such as pangolins, may have transmitted the virus to humans. The lab leak theory. Another theory suggests the virus may have accidentally escaped from a laboratory such as the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which was known to study bat coronaviruses. While this theory remains controversial, it has been investigated by global agencies and is not entirely ruled out. Regardless of its origin, SARS-CoV-2 proved to be a formidable pathogen, spreading quickly and efficiently among humans. The virus spread was astonishing. Within weeks, cases began to appear outside China, and by March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization officially declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Countries scrambled to respond, implementing lockdowns, travel bans, and mass testing campaigns. Despite these efforts, the virus infiltrated nearly every corner of the globe. By the end of 2020, there were over 80 million confirmed cases worldwide and more than 1.8 million deaths. The rapid spread was facilitated by global travel, asymptomatic carriers, and the virus's ability to survive on surfaces for extended periods. COVID-19 overwhelmed healthcare systems in many countries. Hospitals ran out of beds, ventilators were in short supply, and frontline workers faced unprecedented challenges. The disease primarily targeted the elderly and those with underlying conditions, but it also caused severe illness and death in younger, healthier individuals. As of now, COVID-19 has caused over 770 million confirmed cases globally and claimed more than 6.9 million lives. However, these numbers are likely underreported due to inconsistent testing and reporting across countries. The economic fallout was staggering. Entire industries ground to a halt, unemployment soared, and governments introduced trillion-dollar stimulus packages to keep economies afloat. Small businesses suffered the most, with many shutting their doors permanently. Socially, the pandemic redefined normal. Remote work and online learning became the norm, while masks and social distancing became daily necessities. Mental health crises surged as isolation and uncertainty took their toll. The development of vaccines was a scientific triumph. Within a year of the virus's emergence, several vaccines, like those developed by Pfizer, BioNTech, and AstraZeneca, received emergency use authorization. Mass vaccination campaigns helped curb severe causes and deaths, though global distribution was uneven, leaving many low-income countries behind. The virus, however, continued to evolve. Variants like Delta and Omicron posed new challenges, with some strains being more transmissible or resistant to vaccines. Despite these hurdles, vaccination remains humanity's best weapon against the virus. COVID-19 exposed vulnerabilities in global preparedness. It highlighted the importance of robust healthcare systems, international cooperation, and timely, transparent communication. So, what can we take away from all of this? History isn't just about dates and statistics, it's about understanding the fragility of human existence. These pandemics were more than just numbers, they were stories of survival. If you found this video informative, I really appreciate if you give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. It helps me create more content like this and keeps the stories of our past alive. And hey, if you know someone who loves history or is fascinated by the darker sides of human existence, share this video with them. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep looking up.